Hi cousins, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia J, and I'm the host of the Sunday Reset podcast, where we talk about all things faith and self-care. This is a solo podcast, so we're going to go ahead and jump into it. As always, you're glowing and you're growing always, and I love this look on you. But I think it's time for you to learn a good self-love tip, which will be letting it go. And for this week's episode, our scripture is coming from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 6, and it says, "There is a time to look for something and a time to stop looking for it. There is a time to keep things and there's a time to throw things away." And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. And yes, that was my Bible. I'm putting it down. But I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. So for me, this is a very important topic of learning to let things go. And I know a lot of people are going to generally think about their relationships or past relationships, friendships, but I also want to touch on the fact that this can apply to habits that you may have, like overly drinking when you're upset or smoking your feelings away. And other things like that aren't generally good for you. So we're just going to jump into it. So I want to just say that the first thing about letting things go is that it is an acquired skill. Like, not everybody has that ability to let things go. People keep grudges, people keep people in their lives that don't really serve them. But what I don't feel like a lot of people really understand is that the longer you hold on to something that is not supposed to be in your life, really the harder you're making your life out to be. And I want to just like touch on the fact that, and not everybody in your life is really supposed to be there for the long haul. Sometimes people are just placed there in your life for a season. Not saying that you're there like trying to use them or anything like that, but honestly, like, sometimes you just outgrow their purpose that was set for them in your life. Now their purpose for you in their life is not their end all be all purpose, but I just want to just say you cross paths for a reason, right? I know that for me, and I'll just touch base on a little bit of why I think that this is a good time for you to kind of clean house. Some people like compare letting things go as to like pruning a plant. And the reason why you would prune a plant is because you want to allow that plant the space and that energy, that time to breathe and to grow and to be able to bear whatever fruit or whatever flower it's supposed to have. Like, that's why you would prune back the dead leaves, or you would prune back some thorns, really the things that aren't really good for the plant, or that is harming its growth. And so I like to think about letting go of like people or relationships or habits in that same manner. Prime example, there was a time where I had a relationship with a friend, and me and her got along very, very well at first. I feel like our relationship was kind of typical. Like, we liked a lot of the same things. We went to a lot of the same kind of places. Our familiar black backgrounds were kind of similar, so we could kind of relate like to the sisterhood that I had, because I have two sisters, and she also had two sisters, and so we kind of got along in that manner. We were around the same age and so on. But kind of like skipping forward, we were friends for a very long time, a very, very long time. But I kind of like started to feel like I was outgrowing some of the habits that, we had together. Like, this is like a middle school, high school relationship. So, I mean, as girls, like, what girls do, like, we gossip, we talk to each other for hours and hours and hours on end about anything and everything. When you get a little bit older, you kind of start to form your own opinions, start to kind of form your own habits. And some of the habits that we were partaking in isn't really indicative of what I would like care, or how I would carry myself now. And no shade to anything or anyone that does those kinds of things, but it's just not like, that's just not where I want to be. And when I would bring up, my concerns with some of those things, I was deemed fake, or I was deemed like I was acting brand new to the situation. That really wasn't the case. And so, I mean, I know that you can't change people. The only person that you can change is yourself. And so that's what I really did. Like, I just started changing the habits that I had. But when I started doing those things, it wasn't really received in the best manner. So I found myself kind of, I mean, like I said, this was like teenage, high school years. So it's a very impressionable time for, anyone, honestly. But I just found myself struggling with the fact that the kind of friend groups that I had wasn't really like as strong as I would have hoped them to continue to be, because they were still partaking in those kind of habits and activities that I just weren't interested in. I just found that that really caused me to be like in a negative like mental space, because I'm like, oh, I'm losing all these friends. So, and I don't, nobody likes me anymore. Like, where am I going to fit in? Like, but I don't need to fit in. I always say that, like, you just need to be yourself. And honestly, God is going to bless you like in those times, because I've met countless of other people along this journey that have always somehow, no, I'm not going to say somehow, God has placed them in my life for a reason, and they've always ended up looking out for me, or teaching me something that I didn't necessarily know. So, but in the time that I'm talking about, it wasn't really as obvious that I needed to let those people go, but something had to change, because I just wasn't myself. I wasn't my happy-go-lucky self that I was, and that's because a lot of those habits that they were negatively affecting my mental space. And that's something that I am really, really particular about, because I always love to say, you need to protect your peace. You need to protect your peace. Like, when you find it, you need to like protect it, because honestly, like, it is so hard to come by in this world nowadays. But yeah, ultimately I had to go and have a conversation with her, and I just let her know, like, you don't have to change for me, because I wouldn't want to change for you. That's just how it is, right? But these are the reasons why, I don't necessarily feel like this relationship is going to continue to serve me in the manner that it originally was. And it doesn't take away from anything that, we've done together, the conversations that we had, the laughs that we had. It doesn't take anything away from you as a person. It's just that, I want to have to love you from a distance. And so I did. I mean, she still checks in with a little happy birthday here and there, or how's everybody doing, like, it's probably once a year. So it's not that I don't entertain those conversations or those outreaches. It's not even that I don't send a quick message to her myself. However, it's really more so the capacity that you have in my life is going to change, and that's a boundary that I had to set. And after she was removed from my life in that capacity, I really did start to see like positive changes for myself. And to kind of go into like my next thing, like, this can apply for friendships and relationships, like boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, or whatever. It can apply in those situations too, and you kind of have to navigate those with one light judgment. You have to be very, very, the judgment that you have is going to be against yourself, the actions that you take. You're not going to judge someone else, because it's not your role to do so. So you're going to go in with light judgment. You don't want to bring yourself down, but you do want to hold yourself to the standard that you're trying to get to. And then also, transparency, honesty, is not the same thing as being brutally honest. It's not. There's a way to get your point across, and also being willing to listen to the other person, so that you can have that open communication, because you're not trying to bring the other person down either. That's not the point of this. but you don't want to leave them hanging. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to leave that person hanging without a reason or an answer, because sometimes it's just that toxic and you kind of have to let that one go. But in most cases, generally speaking, like, you probably should have a conversation to or with that person to kind of reduce that, like, ghosting effect, if you will. But yeah, like, the last thing I really want to touch on is like habits. A lot of people say, oh, you know, like, you are what you eat type of thing. Like, you are, like my last episode, you are who you think you are who you say you are. If you don't like being overweight, you gotta look at those habits that are causing you to be overweight. If you don't like feeling the way that you feel, or like when you overly drink, like, you need to reduce that. If you don't like the amount of sleep that you're getting, like, it's not enough sleep, but you play the game all day and you don't really separate yourself from the game, like, you need to check in those habits. If you want to get out of paycheck to paycheck cycle, like, you need to check your spending habits or your financial status and see what other skills you can add onto yourself to get you to where you want to be. Like letting it go so that you can grow, can apply anywhere in your life. And I really want to get that across. I think that is really important, that you really take the time before 2025 comes around to really, like, sit with yourself and see what you need to prune, see what needs to get gone. Take the trash out, if you will. Okay, not trash, but you know what I'm saying. So really take the time to focus on a few areas of your life where you feel like it needs, like, improvement, and just go ahead and set up your little goals. If you need to practice what you're going to say, try to go to an ear that will hear, but an ear that also follows up with some decent wisdom and advice, someone that you can trust. Sometimes I have conversations with one of my very, very good friends. She's very, very good with her words and the way that she articulates things. Before I have a good major conversation, she's very, very good with articulating, and sometimes I need that help to kind of get my tone across the right way. And so yeah, just go to someone that you can trust, that's not going to really spread your business or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just make sure that, like I said, you guys are doing it with good intent, that you're not trying to bring anyone down, including yourself. Continue to speak positively of your life, and keep glowing and keep growing. And I love this look on you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.